Today we're going to be talking about La Santa Muerte. Also referred to as the patron saint of death, or to some the saint for sinners, the Bony Lady, as she is sometimes called, is becoming one of the fastest growing religious icons in both the US and Mexico. She has millions of followers at this point, which to some is a great thing and to others is very concerning. Some historians report that Santa Muerte is actually an evolution of the ancient Aztec goddess of death. And if there's one thing we know about the Aztecs, it's that they tended to follow the human sacrifice pattern. So there were human sacrifices made to the goddess of death. There are some who believe that the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, is actually held in honor of Santa Muerte, but there are other people of the same heritage that completely deny Santa Muerte and do not recognize her as a patron saint at all. It would appear that the character of Santa Muerte survived the Spanish conquerors during that time period by selective appropriation through the native peoples. They basically created this saint that would fit into the realm of Catholicism that the Spanish brought over. Now, we see this happening all the time. Think of African slaves who were forcefully brought over to America. Before they were forcefully brought over to America, they practiced things like hoodoo, voodoo, different types of African religions with their own spirits, their own deities. Because they were brought over and then forced to convert to Christianity and Catholicism, they pretty much appropriated what they could, turned their own spirits into saints, or linked them up with existing saints, and that way they could still manage to keep ties to their heritage, keep ties to their ancient traditions and their ways, while appeasing the lovely Europeans. Now, Santa Muerte is actually not recognized by the Mexican government, and the Catholic Church itself has released many different statements saying they do not recognize her. They ask people that follow Catholicism to reject her, and that's due in part to a lot of negative stigma that's been attached to her recently. Now, part of this darker stigma that she's been getting attention for is due to the fact that she has become like this icon, mainly for criminals. The infamous drug cartels and other criminals have actually adopted Santa Muerte as their patron saint, so that contributes a lot to the darker image that she's been getting attention for lately. Now, a lot of people make offerings and altars to Santa Muerte, but criminals specifically make offerings to her and pray to her for like their drug trafficking and their life of crime to go well. But there are a lot of people who will pray to Santa Muerte for other things. As an entity, she can be called on for financial matters, for help with the family in times of trouble and need. So it's all about how you look at it, and it's all about who is referencing her. One common theme I found, whether we were talking criminals or just regular devotees, they all say don't make promises to Santa Muerte that you cannot keep, because she will take away your loved ones if you fail her. That to me is really creepy, but okay. Let me just check that off on my checklist right now. Do not make promises to Santa Muerte. Overall, La Santa Muerte has millions of followers both in Mexico and the US, and she's actually become this growing phenomenon all over the world in many places. Now, one of the darker topics related to Santa Muerte is the fact that there have been real-life sadistic cults created in her name. There was a case in northern Mexico not that long ago where 8 people were arrested. Now, these 8 people were convicted of killing 2 10-year-old boys and a woman. Now, in the reports, it claims that these 8 people were all present when these two 10-year-old boys and the woman were murdered. It was late at night, they were having some kind of candle ceremony, and supposedly it was a ritualistic sacrifice to Santa Muerte. In the murder itself, the killers were said to have sliced open the veins of their victims and allowed them to bleed out to death, all while catching their blood in these plastic containers. We see that a lot in different occult crimes because blood is very powerful in different occult practices, so they will save up the blood for future rituals as well as the ritual that they're performing that night. Now, to be completely fair though, this cult was predominantly made up of one family, and if we know anything about cults at all, it is much easier for a family to kind of be born into a twisted dogma and a twisted version of a faith than it is to like get followers. So for instance, like if this cult sect is built up of one family, we're having years of children being raised into this idea that it's okay to sacrifice people to Santa Muerte. So in that case, it makes it easier to convince people to kill for you, rather than bringing in complete strangers. But again, I'm not entirely sure if that's true. It was just written in one article that the cult itself was predominantly a single family. Now, the criminals that have kind of taken Santa Muerte as their patron saint have twisted the idea and concept of her into this creepy figure that's basically allowing them to pursue their life of crime, to hurt people when necessary, and to just live a life of violence and drug trafficking and doing whatever they want to, whenever they want to. And that's really not the point of Santa Muerte, I don't believe. Any kind of saint is not allowing you to follow that path. But again, with religion, everyone skews it how they want to, and if someone's already a psychopath or really just messed up individual, they're gonna warp the religion and the faith into whatever way they want to that will serve their needs. Now, I will say that Santa Muerte followers have been completely unfairly likened to Satanists, and I think that's mainly in part of the criminal element and like the different drug cartels kind of taking her and turning her into this saint of chaos and anarchy and all of that. But overall, it does seem like most of her followers still practice things like Catholicism, and they still follow God. So they don't just look to Santa Muerte, but it's more like these people are blurring the lines between old school pagan practices and modern day Christianity and Catholicism. These people will go so far as to have all altars to her. They'll leave out offerings. A lot of the offerings will include like fruit, cigars, flowers, incense, food, and even alcohol. I've seen a couple of documentaries where people have left marijuana joints out for her, to each their own. But I think it's interesting that this group of followers tends to blur that line between ancient and modern day religious practices. If you think about it, that's how a lot of ancient heritage and traditions survive, because no offense, but when the Europeans came over, they tried to pretty much snuff out any other beliefs or spiritual practices at all in the name of God, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a Christian, but at the same time it is kind of disheartening to see complete cultures being wiped out like that. So I think Santa Muerte is a rekindling of ancient heritage, and I think some people have got it right where they combine her and God and Christianity together, and it's kind of like this healthy balance. But other people, including the criminal element, has completely warped her into whatever they want, and it has become more of a Satanist type thing where it just represents chaos and anarchy and me doing what I want that's going to serve me the best. So do I have any Santa Muerte followers out there? If so, comment down below if you want to. Let us know any more information on the practice if you'd like to share, or if you have any opinions on it at all, go ahead and share down below. If you like these videos, guys, I hope y'all are smashing that like button, because it helps me out. It helps me know if I'm on the right path or if y'all completely didn't like it. So I hope to hear from you guys soon. I will see you all tomorrow on day, 6 of the 31 days of Halloween.